I suppose my question is more for Professor Corvino, although it's for both of you, obviously. I just was wondering whether the internal logic of homosexual marriage, as you said when you just gave like the little soundbite summary of your argument, that is about interpersonal relationships rather than or about human relations, rather than about the connection between offspring and sex. I hear in that as sort of, I mean, I don't want to negate you by labeling you, but a sort of existentialist.
Is that the label you were expecting?
No. No, that was not the label I was expecting. But yeah,
You can sense some existentialism coming from you, John.
No, I mean, not a bad thing.
No, it's good.
I enjoy the existentialist, but I sort of, that any action that a person takes has its moral worth because it's coming from the freedom of the individual, and it has its strength in as much as the individual has the strength in their own freedom. So, isn't the internal logic of basing marriage on that human relation of I make this commitment, simply like us two, doesn't that lead to the making arbitrary of marriage as an institution at all? Doesn't that kind of make antiquated the social public aspect of it, completely, since it is precisely as you say about human relations and not about some fact that needs to be taken into account socially and publicly, namely the continuation of the community through the next generation.
Okay. I think if I understand what you're saying, that my response is, if that's what my argument were, then yes, there would be a real problem with my argument, but that is so not what my argument is. So David asked us, briefly, what is marriage all about for you? I forget exactly how you worded this. Basically about, and I said human relationship because I wanted to come up with a nice pithy answer, and I'll stand by that answer. But in no way did I mean by that answer that whatever relationship we choose is good simply because we choose it. Because, of course, many of us have found ourselves at times in life in relationships that have been bad for us and bad for others. What I meant by that was something about the great goods, the great human goods that come out of human relationship, both in terms of the relationship between romantic couples as that's sustained over a long time, and the relationships that those people then build with other people, which are then sustained and nurtured by this important relationship that they have at home. And so when I talk about marriage being important about human relationship, I'm partly talking about my relationship with my partner. I'm also talking about my relationship with my grandfather and how all of those things get woven together and the great human goods that are achieved there. And coming out of Fordham, if I had to peg myself, I'd probably be a lot closer to like Thomas Aquinas on these things than I would be to the existentialists. So maybe we should talk more about where I'm coming from.
Yeah, I'm not surprised by that answer because obviously I don't think that that's a correct characterization of the argument. But I do want to say I do think that you're right, that the internal logic of marriage as we've known it sort of stops making sense. The core rules, you look at all of the rules, it's a sexual union, it involves co-parenting, it requires sexual fidelity, and it's part of the case against polygamy as well, two and only two. If you look at the institution as oriented around creating a sort of joint family, it's as a public matter, not a private motivation, but a public matter about connecting men and women to their children in love. These rules all make sense. Fidelity is core to both permanence and to protecting the unity of the family, because otherwise you're surrendering the question of children to the fertility intentions of third partners, and adultery means not, we think of it as diluting, adulterating the core passion of the and love of the married couple, but it literally adulterates the family because you have children created by third partners, and those third partners' relationship to the family. You know, sisters can't get married because even though they can love each other and raise children and make a home together, and as somebody who is consigned to loving men, I often sat around when I had small children and thought about how much easier it would be to make a home with my sister. But that's not a marriage because it can't, you know, because they can't have sex and they can't make, all of these rules which reinforce each other and make sense and are grounded in this reality become kind of sitting there hanging. And I'm not saying it will lead to their discarding, although I think fidelity as a marital norm will really come pushing up hard against the marriage equality as a new norm. But I will say that the institution starts to lose its inner logic and cohesion, and we will be launched on a new question of how many of these rules and norms we think will make sense, and we'll all have to think about them again, which I guess for those of us who like to think will be an interesting thing. But really, norms and institutions are about directing people's thoughts so that we don't depend on our own individual wisdom to come to the right answer. So it's troubling to me.
We need to bring this portion of the conversation to a close. I really want to thank you, John, and I want to thank you, Maggie, for, in my view, really kind of exposing yourself and just letting us get a glimpse into really how you actually think and who you are as people. It was wonderful for me to be a part of it. If you like what you have been a part of tonight, there are a few things I want to say to you. One is that you can continue the conversation online until 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. After that, this topic and others like it will be continued on our blog, familyscholars.org. Shout out to those bloggers from Family Scholars who have been live blogging this event. So you might want to check out Family Scholars to participate in that conversation later on in an ongoing way. Thirdly, we have a publication called Propositions. That's an attempt to continue and deepen these conversations in a print format. And it is available to you for an amazing subscription price of $0 online, and you can subscribe and be kept informed that way. And last but not least, if you like what you've seen tonight, and if you think that you may support our mission as an organization of studying and strengthening civil society, you may give us a gift, a financial gift. And it will be very easy for you to find the donate button online, and after that, let your generosity be your guide with much appreciation on our part. And with that, I'll bring this to a close. Thank you each for coming tonight, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.